is Real Women, 7 Minutes of Transformation. Today, we're gathering here to witness something truly extraordinary. Each of these women will share their powerful story in 7 minutes. Each one a testament to what happens when you have the courage to go within and choose to rise. Each of these women wrote a chapter in a collaborative book. What they thought was just the chance to become a published author became something much more. What they experienced was beyond that. Not only did they write their story and share it, but they each went through some kind of transformation, each unique. Some from writing their story, some from sharing their story, and some from doing both. So as each woman takes the stage, listen for that moment when it all changed for them.
You're a CEO, entrepreneur, or business owner that can't seem to figure out what is blocking you from attaining the next level of growth in your business? Then listen up. I'm Maria De Lorenzo Reyes. I've taken what I've learned in 30 years working inside multi-million-dollar corporations, building my own business, and consulting my clients, and discovered 5 themes that stop a business from scaling. I've created a tool to help you get the answers you need to get unstuck and unlock the next level of growth. Head over to scale.mariadr.com and click the link to get your custom Scale Factor Formula scorecard when this episode is over.
Because sometimes we get to this point where we just break a barrier, and then that barrier is crushed forever. Once we break through that limitation, we can't go back. We're made to be stronger than that. Those lessons and accomplishments, milestones, they become a part of our journey. And it doesn't even matter how scared or lost that we're broken even that we start out, like I believed that I was. Just recently, I asked my mom, have you noticed any changes in me since I started sharing my works as like in published books? And I expected that mom was gonna have some sort of thought process behind it and like think about it for a minute, but she didn't even hesitate. And she just looked at me and she says, well, yeah, you used to be able to not talk to anybody and now you can't shut up. And I was like, but she said, for real though, she's like, you came out of your shell and you found a way to really connect with people. You went from not being able to have a conversation with anyone to going out in public and just talking to everyone. I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I realized that sharing has built my confidence. And has it helped me find my purpose in helping others in ways I never could have imagined?
What began as a hard task blossomed into a journey of unexpected growth and change for me. I was riding through things that I had not fully processed. There were moments that shaped me, they built me, they broke me. I wrote about challenges I had buried under busyness, about lessons I had learned the hard way. Somewhere between those sentences, I found peace with my past. I did ask for help. This was a collaboration, and there were many of them that had written before, so they did help me. And as I did, I became more courageous. After my first draft, though, it was not accepted. And I was a bit defeated, and I almost gave up. But then I became determined. I honestly didn't even care if it got published, but I was not going to quit. Writing the chapter forced me to be honest, not just with the readers, but with myself. That honesty was freeing. I started to see patterns in my story, places where I had grown, places where I needed to heal. I discovered strength that I had downplayed, resilience I had forgotten, and a voice that had been waiting patiently for me to use it. The transformation wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual, mental, and even professional. For the first time, I saw my story as something valuable, not something to apologize for or to even hide. I began to understand that our stories do not need to be perfect to be powerful. They just need to be real. Writing this chapter in this book also shifted the way I saw success. This process showed me that success is all about courage. It's about choosing to show up when it's uncomfortable. It's about your story can make a difference, that it is powerful no matter who reads it, and if it only touches one person.
I hadn't shared the whole story with anyone. Sure, many people knew pieces of it because they were present in my life. They knew of my divorce, of my daughter's mental health struggles and many hospitalizations. A few even knew of my estrangement from my maternal family. Only my husband and my therapist knew the emotional toll it was taking from all that life was challenging me with. This writing process, though, gave me an opportunity to honor my own experience without shooting shots across the bow or burning bridges. Writing brought me healing and clarity, and as I typed, edited, shared, and polished my story, I could measure my progress. I embraced that growth that I created by stepping way, way outside my comfort zone. Putting myself out there for the world to read my story removed fear and hesitation from conversations and connection. Even though past events had shaped my belief about being vulnerable, I learned a new truth. Being vulnerable is neither scary nor dangerous. Sharing creates opportunities for connection, and it removes barriers. Learning to be vulnerable also helped me with my skill of discernment, which was poorly developed. Writing and sharing about my past allowed me to relook at that tough exterior and brave face that I so often like to wear. I was fiercely independent and, unfortunately, deeply lonely. Because I constantly wore a mask, my discernment was clouded, making it difficult for me to identify friends from foes. Things I shared in confidence with people who I thought I could trust were twisted and disclosed, leading to unnecessary pain and confusion. For me, though, something shifted when I shared my story. It cracked me wide open. It gave me permission to stop pretending, to drop my layers of armor, and to reconnect with who I'm truly meant to be.
So everything was very serious growing up. So I was always looking for the thing that I didn't have in my life, and that was fun. So fast forward, I go to college, I go to law school, I do all the things you're supposed to do. I was a good kid, always had my name in the newspaper for good things, not bad things. And then I get out of law school, I'm running my own law practice, and I still didn't have that much fun. So I met a guy, and guess what he was? He was really fun. He was also really abusive, extremely, in every way you can imagine. Physically, man, black eyes, broken nose, all the things. Emotionally, cheated constantly, never took anything that I did seriously, and financially. I was doing really well. I met him, and then I wasn't doing so well. Almost went bankrupt because of all the money that I was giving him. But most of the time during that relationship, and it lasted for a really long time, you guys, we were together for a long time. And I was in my 30s, and I'm like, all right, I really want to be a mom. I want to be a mom so badly. I'm going to get married to this guy, and we're going to have kids together. Thankfully, the angels were looking after me, and we did not have children. So after we got married, I asked for a divorce on our honeymoon. And then we stayed together for another year. I got out of that relationship, but I was too embarrassed to tell my story. So fast forward to a few more years, I get invited to go to New Zealand to film a reality television show. And so I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm going to do that. Well, part of the show was doing a TED-like talk, but it was in Auckland. So I can do a TED talk about my story, right? Nobody's going to see it. Wrong. First of all, the audience was filled with people in New Zealand. Okay, fine, they're in New Zealand. That's fine. Nobody in the US is going to see it. Wrong again, because the reality TV show cameras were there and they filmed all of this and then they put it on the internet and everyone saw it. And I was like, oh my gosh. Then I get asked to do this book chapter and I'm like, okay. So I write the chapter. And guess what? I was too scared to put my chapter in the book because then people would actually see it. But I started talking and I started saying my story over and over and over again. And I had so many people come up to me and say, Angela, thank you for telling your story. Thank you for saying those things. I'm in the same situation and I'm also embarrassed of it. But to know that somebody else has been through this, that's really helpful for me. And when I transformed my thinking, dramatic change in form for me, to realize and recognize that I'm not telling the story for myself, although I am. I'm telling the story to help other people, which is what I do in my job as a lawyer. I'm helping other people. When I'm helping other people, that helped me understand that I was making the transformation that I needed to make. Every story matters.
So the writing process was a journey. And by the time I was about halfway through, my message was clear. I can do this, or limitless possibilities. So in doing the writing process, it affirmed my belief in limitless possibilities, and I ended up highlighting my greatest personal triumph to date. Being brave and authentic and just starting also showed me how the stars were aligning to check off a bucket list item. That bucket list item was becoming a published author. In addition, there was some stardust sprinkled throughout this writing process. I wrap up my chapter by sharing a process about finding hidden nuggets in your daily life. These hidden nuggets reveal truths that are with you all along. You just don't know they're there. What's wild about this is I had no idea that this process was going to emerge from my writing. I didn't even know I had already been living it. If I hadn't taken the time to write my story, I never would have known it existed, nor would I have been able to share with others how easy it is. Speaking of stars, I found a really, really special constellation of stars along my journey. During the book collaboration, there was 4 of us that came together to work in a smaller, more intimate group. So in addition to the big group collaboration sessions, we had smaller, more intimate sessions where we worked and shared with each other. These sessions created a space where we could be even more authentic and real with each other. And it was a lot of extra support that we needed. And it really was key to us successfully finishing our chapters.
When I started to write that story, I realized something very profound. I realized that I am the woman I am today, and I really like her because I worked through those challenges in that first marriage. That I had put that shame aside. That I did the work. I decided that I was going to let go of the shame and I was going to focus and use my voice and tell my story. It wasn't easy in the beginning. But then, the more you wrote it, the more you shared it, the easier it gets. And today, I'm strong, I'm successful, I'm a leader, and I'm a writer. It took a little bit, but I learned, and I grew, and I put words on paper. I used my voice. I stepped into my power, not in spite of my past, but because of my past. I used that power to become a leader in my community. I started to use my voice. I campaigned for a seat on my city's Board of Education, and I won. 2 years later, I was reelected and unanimously appointed as the chair. I've stood in city council chambers. I've spoken in press conferences on TV, appeared on podcasts, and taken the stage to share my voice on things that really matter. I've been able to use that example to advocate for my daughters. One, after a wrongful school suspension, and the second, after a sexual harassment incident at her job. I've been able to model a really powerful example to my girls. And if you have kids, you know more is caught than taught. For sure. And I wrote another chapter in a second book. And now there's a third. I often hear from people come up to me and say, oh, we wish we could be more like you. They see me advocating in my community, leading, advocating for my kids, speaking out at work, and they say, oh, we wish you could be more like you. You know, we want to have that same effect on people. They feel like I have something they don't have. Here's the secret. I don't have some special superpower that you don't. I learned, I grew, I put words on paper, I started, I tried. I know there are things you want to do, there are things you want to say, there are things you want to accomplish. And I understand the fear and the doubt that you're filled with because I was there too. But I'm going to tell you this, you can do this. You can transform your life into the one you've dreamed of. If I hadn't had the courage to start and to use my voice, I cannot imagine the things that I would have missed out on. And I cannot imagine the things that you are missing out on.
What you just witnessed was not just stories, but it was a collective rising. Each woman who stood on this stage defied something. A fear, a silence, a role that no longer fit, a system that said, stay small. They walked away from expectations. They broke through identities, old identities. They turned pain into purpose and fear into fuel. Each one trusted her instincts. They each, in their own way, chose to change, to transform, to leap. And because of that choice, they now stand in their own power, fully expressed, no longer defined by what others told them to be or do. As they were speaking and as I was reading their stories as this piece came together, I can't help thinking about the movie Wicked, and specifically the song Defying Gravity. Wicked tells us the backstory of Elphaba, the so-called Wicked Witch of the West. This song tells the story of the moment it all changed for her. The moment she chose to defy what was, what is. Elphaba's moment isn't just rebellion. It's about awakening. It's the instant she realizes that the ground she's standing on is no longer her truth. She risks being misunderstood in order to be free. And in doing so, she reclaims her power. This song serves as a metaphor, a backdrop, and a mirror for the transformations that we just witnessed today. These women, in their own way, had their defying gravity moment when they said no more to the script that they were handed. These stories are not just performances, they're declarations. Declarations that say, you can't pull me down. Declarations that remind us transformation doesn't come from fitting in, it comes from standing out. So as we close this piece, let their courage stir something in you, because maybe, just maybe, you're standing on your own ledge, wondering if it's time to leave.
All right, so I hope you loved this episode and found it valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you'd be so kind, if you know someone else that this will help, please share this episode with them. Just grab a link for this specific episode, text it to a friend or colleague so it can help more people like you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place on the Finding the Upside podcast.